If you are watching this, it's because you are either new to my channel and PS4 curious, or have traversed through the 9 levels of Gehenna I have painstakingly compiled for your viewing enjoyment. So if you are either one, I'm doing a giveaway for both demographics in my end-of-the-year cook-off. My first giveaway will go to a new random registered subscriber who simply comments and likes the video, and my second will go to a current random subscriber who sends me their top 5 list for favorite PS5 hidden gems. I'll be sending out a controller and a PS4 game to the first winner and a PS5 game of my choosing to the second winner, so get your submissions or subscriptions in with haste. Today, I'm going to focus on precision of language, so this time around, I'll try to keep the esoteric rhetoric to a dull roar. And if you understood what I just said, that shouldn't matter to you at all, smarty pants. Now that that's out of the way, I have 10 final PS4 hidden gems of the year to review for you, bringing this series to a close for now, but possibly resuming at a later date. Now, let's prepare these tasty morsels by blanching out the final 10 spots to preserve all the wholesomeness within. Have you ever wanted to change the seasons on a whim just by the long press of a button on your controller? That is pretty much the allure of this endearing title from publishers Untold Tale, released in 2022 on PS4. This is the debut title from game developers Piccolo out of Barcelona, Spain, and demonstrates how a fairly unknown dev can bring the heat with gorgeous visuals and unique gameplay. It's not a title that you'll be gunning down anything with locomotion, but rather a peaceful journey dealing with the loss of love through platforming for around 7 hours. Now, let's unveil the first review. When these types of games tug on my delicate heartstrings and add an interesting mechanic to progress, I'm just a big bucket of tears sloshing around, leaving a snail trail on the surface I've decided to plop myself down on. But despite the emotional instability I faced, I also let the experience inspire or motivate me to keep moving forward and appreciate the journey through the 10 chapters it offered. From childhood memories to end-of-life recollections, Arise really hits those topics in an artfully done platformer. The levels represent a certain time frame within your player's life, so the mood shifts depending on the moments. It's a unique way to view or contemplate what type of existence was being portrayed. Being creatures of emotional habit, I feel this game is fashioned eloquently to fit the players. I'll give this a 7 out of 10. One of my favorite tactical RPGs was Final Fantasy Tactics, and it proved a gateway drug to games such as these. Love, love, love when they put 3 games on one disc also, so I was very eager to experience the whole package. They even threw in the soundtrack, and I can see why, because it complements the game splendidly. This, of course, is a Viking tactical RPG with artwork reminiscent of Don Bluth, the artist responsible for 80s classics such as The Land Before Time and The Secret of Nim. A while back in 2018, publishers Stoic Studio and Versus Evil set out on a quest to get this series out to the masses. And Stoic, along with Austin Wintory, tactically developed this hidden gem. Shout out to Castle Grayskull from Germany for this suggestion. Let the games begin. Just give the first one a taste, they said. So as I took the plunge like some back alley junkie jonesing for a fix, my eyes were opened, or should I say dilated, by how beautiful these looked and how cohesive they were as well. I would not recommend playing them backwards for reasons you'll understand if you take the plunge. What some would call a concept album like Pink Floyd's The Wall or Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime, I would call this a concept game with improvements and carryovers between each entry. Disclaimer, as the story starts, the gods are all dead, so praying might be equal to, if not the same as praying in real life. And similar to chess, you start with a rook. No, I think you misunderstood. That's his name, and you'll be joined by Alette as well to recruit members to your party, and members you'll have, especially with a race of giants called the Varl. I actually try not to think what they might look like underneath their loincloths, but members nonetheless. You'll have 48 playable characters with 40 different classes and unique abilities and upgrades that make a difference depending on your playstyle. Your choices really hold some weight, and even though I felt fairly confident in some of my choices, I felt like Dr. Evil asking my television to throw me a frickin' bone here on multiple occasions. This is a game that you'll want to see through to its end, and its scale is daunting, but with each new part and player engagement, I think you'll find the journey is definitely worth taking. I'm giving this trilogy a respectful score of 8 out of 10. Have we gone off the deep end this time? From a light-hearted puzzler to a T-rated RPG, and now a deranged butcher? I guess it's better than naming your game Redeemer when your core trade is butchering. Castle Grayskull coming through again in spades with this recommendation, so Danke to Germany once again. Today, we have a tower offender that released in 2017, developed by Phobia Game Studio and Transhuman Design. Published by Crunching Koalas, and again, Transhuman Design. I've seen a lot of those lately. But identity shifts aside, this one reminds me of dark Doom-like themes with Broforce graphics. It's a pick up and kill type of game that doesn't spare the beer kegs of blood. Your cyborg antagonist will show no mercy as you decimate entire levels, and that is just inherently fun. Let's grind out a review. Hello, plot? Are you there? No? Okay. But who needs one when the screen is doused with scarlet-colored squares in anguish? Not this Homo sapien. You'll go in wishing there was a pansy-ass mode because this game, like Cenobites from Hellraiser, will tear your soul apart. One of my first mistakes was thinking that this style of graphics may be deal-breaking, but after seeing it here in high-res on my boob tube, I quickly scrapped that idea. It is quite chaotic in a good way with some pretty great sound design that immerses you in the pandemonium. If I thought of one word for the gameplay, I would use relentless. There's not much to say when your main objective is mass murder, so if you're the type that enjoys a bloody challenge, I think Butcher is multiple cuts above the rest. 7.5 out of 10. I couldn't help but put Gavin DeGraw's Chariot song on repeat in my melon as I solved the countless debacles I came across in this game, and if you remember anything about that video, it's not exactly unpleasant to think about, so no complaints here. This is a physics-based puzzle adventure with the option of couch co-op that really should join the Trichotillomania Club. I'll let you guys look that one up. It was released physically on the PS4 in 2014 on the Limited Run website and was developed by Frema Studio while being published by Microids Indie and Frema Studio once again. From cutesy animation to well-thought-out level design, this title brings a lot to the table with a rolling hearse from the 2nd millennium BCE. Now, let's drag out a review. You'll be pushing, riding, pulling, and swinging. And as adult as that sounds, it pulls it off with the innocence of a child's cartoon, so don't get too excited there, Ronnie J. You can play as a single-player experience, but I recommend someone else you really get along with to play through this. Level design is a bit streamlined, but where it shines is in the mechanics of completion. Unfortunately, challenge equals frustration at times, and you really wish your father, the king inside hitching a ride to the afterlife, would have just let you spread his ashes into the ocean instead. What this game does is simple, but it is effective for combining mental cogs together for level achievements, all while presenting an atmosphere cute enough to forget how much you want to kill your partner for missing a jump or failing to catch you when you sacrifice your own well-being to move your domineering dad around. I'll give this title a 7 out of 10. If I picked a top 3 list of people who have given me fuel for reviews, I would probably put Alan C6277 on that list because this is another cool and unexpected recommendation from that user. So with this one, we are not talking about a groundbreaking title, but there is enough Technicolor spooge than you can shake a stick at. I guess that would track since the developer's name is Climax Studios. What a studio name for a kid's game. I guess since the publisher is called Outright Games, they are without reservation in their choice of branding. But all that malarkey aside, it probably shares no correlation. We have a game that released in 2018 and proved moderately addictive. It really paints a vibrant, color-soaked homage to a mix of titles like Splatoon or Jet Set Radio. So now, in true Brooks and Dunn fashion, let's get boot scootin' to a review. You'll feel like a mobile game hero as you achieve star ratings for each level you conquer and every trick set you master. The appeal to paint the skate park red, blue, yellow, or green goes as far as 3 worlds with a dozen parks. There are unlockables and some upgrades, but the themes become a bit recurrent. Now, you'd think landing sideways from a jump would result in hamburger face, but to my bewilderment, I stuck the landing like Mary Lou Retton. So what I'm trying to say is that it's very forgiving and kid-friendly, if you don't look at the developer's name. The game accomplishes more than I thought it would, honestly, so if you like old-school impossible physics of Tony Hawk and all that jazz, you may find a little underground gem that gives spooge an innocent meaning. 6 out of 10. In 2021, we had the Eldest of Souls grace our physical presence and test our patience with a focus on boss battles primarily. I was excited to see all the fluff go away and a game get right to the meat. Developed by Fallen Flag Studio and produced by United Label and CI Games, who worked on Lords of the Fallen, we have a pixelated powwow that pays respect to action fantasy fighters. You will encounter 10 bosses, and if you have the wits to proceed, Procession won't be as easy as you think it might be, but it will be fun as hell, so grab that obsidian sword and follow me to a review for what is sure to be a Souls-like clomage. Thrust into battle with a sword so colossal your friends might think you're overcompensating for something, and enough dodging to resemble Bill Clinton caught up in a Monica Lewinsky scandal, you'll adore what is, in my opinion, a masterfully made gem that may have been overlooked in PS4 circles. The premise is simple. Travel to a specific destination in each stage, pick up some loot along the way, and confront the boss of that stage. Only after that will the battle manifest and institute some pretty sleek confrontations. You will have 3 ways to dispatch of these baddies, including a health gen called a Bloodburst attack, a special move for each of the fighting styles, and a skill tree manipulation. I also need to address the outstanding variation in story and in movesets you'll experience when introduced to each boss. Every new encounter felt fresh and unwilted from the last. If I said the game was easy, I'd be selling its difficulty short. You will die, period. But you'll also learn from your mistakes, or at least I hope you will. I'm going to give this title an 8 out of 10. Anyone remember the 2013 release of the Best of PlayStation Network Volume 1 on the PS3? You know, the one that should have had at least 9 more volumes? Well, I do, and I happen to remember a fun opener to this game on that system. Maybe even a little better. So, 2 years later, when this sequel was released in 2015, I was definitely interested in craving cake once again. This was developed by Fun Bits and Santa Monica Studios, and published by, you guessed it, Sony Computer Entertainment. It's an action role-playing hack and slash that doesn't spare the hemoglobin. This time around, instead of stuffing the mouth of your Royal Highness frequently with insulin-spiking wedding cake, you'll be desecrating your own pancreas most of the time to complete your missions. So which one's better at it? Let's indulge carelessly in a review, shall we? I'll admit, when I saw the format had changed slightly, I was a bit worried how it would translate on the PS4. Well, I'll break the ice and say it's still enjoyable, just not as classic as the original. The game likes to indulge not only in cake, but also in humor, and that's apparent when you engorge yourself to the point of temporary Hulk-like abilities that remind me of Baby Adam in the film Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. The humor, although a bit satirical in nature, had me chuckling from time to time as I slaughtered countless waves of mindless morons. You still have different classes to choose from like the original, and the cartoon world proved to be nostalgic due to the top-down isometric view like the first installment. Co-op is a nice option, and maybe a consideration due to its shorter runtime for casual gamers. There's not much more to say other than treat yourself to a race for diabetes type 1 by the blatant disregard for a healthy lifestyle. I'll give the sequel a 7 out of 10, and an 8 to the first one. Rather than fury being unleashed, I was feeling a release of serotonin stepping back into this fun roguelike platforming twin-stick shooter. Released in 2017, developed and published by Awesome Game Studios, which, might I add, is a much better name for a game production, it really captures the essence of comic book styles mixed with some Metal Slug similarities. You will meet face-to-face with 40 bosses in total through the various chapters and experience the musically driven talents of Adam Skarupa, who is one of the creators for The Witcher, Bulletstorm, and Shadow Warrior 2 soundtracks. It's a fast-paced romp that I was in love with, and now I get to tell you about my time with it. An observer might say things like, "Is that all you do is run around shooting everything?" And you could respond quickly with, "Yeah, of course." Or you could really get detailed on why the addiction sets in. I am here for the detail. First of all, when a game is fluid with its execution, that counts for a lot, and this one nails that feel like Matt Dillahunty in a debate. When the story is also either comical or interesting, it adds some depth, and being a comic hero/writer named Fury, no relation to Nick, you will need to impress your readers with stacks of action and assorted threats to keep their attention, which is an outside-the-box idea I can support. A skill tree and tons of buffable items, is that even a word, buffable? With my emphasis on wordplay, I should know that. The content length is also good, spanning 4 comic books, which take roughly around 12 hours to complete. It also provides a special character creator system with Steam Workshop support. If you want to say, run around as the Trumpster or Lord and Savior President, you could. Ultimately, I found this game to be a blast from start to finish, and for anyone who cares, buffable is a word. I just looked it up in the Merriam-Webster. I'm giving this one a 7.5 out of 10. OMFNG. This is 8-bit Metroidvania done correctly. If I were to infer, I would say they were going for a Castlevania 2 feel with a day and night difficulty mechanic for battling the hordes of demons. In 2022, Berserk Studio developer and the Arcade Crew publisher unleashed this platformer adventure to the modern world in all its 80s nostalgic glory. I loved how well it translated, and they kept it simple. I think what was most welcomed was how cutscenes were riddled with choices that could change the overall story. It really is a time capsule once you boot this up, and once its grip tightens, you'll be hard-pressed to put it down. let's whip out a review. Don't you hate when you leave town for a measly year or so, and when you return, the place you remember is a desolate landscape of unholy magic and demons? Sounds like Utah. But as I draw these unfounded comparisons, I take refuge knowing that my decisions do make a difference here, and people will remember me for my deeds. You'll be grinding for mana, life, experience, and power-up weaponry/armor with each encounter. You can choose between Classic or Casual mode, but Classic may prove mortal if you aren't a seasoned 8-bit warrior. You'll get around 7 hours until you achieve completion, but remember, when you eject the disc, don't push down on it thinking it's an NES cartridge. I'll give this one a 7.5 out of 10. If I have two vices, the first one is a good cheesecake with a graham cracker crust, and the other would be tower defense games. This is the vintage strategic family-friendly answer to absolute carnage, and I love it. Making his debut for an amazing suggestion, Richard-RC4VF suggested this title, and I'm forever grateful. This one first appeared in 2010, but re-released in higher definition on PS4 in 2021, and many hands were in the pot, including developers Signal Studios, Eden Industries, and Outer Heaven. Taking charge again for publishing, we had Signal Studios and newcomer Accelerate Games, delivering the care package. The game is set around the World War I era and captures that feel so well with the period-influenced music, reel-to-reel video production, and weapons-accurate arsenals. It was hard to put this one down so that I could give the others in my lineup a fair play for review, but I disciplined myself harshly by letting my son play it while I tackled my other titles. Let's blow this one wide open with a review. Set in the trenches of Europe, you'll have a plethora of weapons options to melt down the adversaries and send them spinning through the air like the damn Skydancer toys from the 90s that got banned for breaking kids' teeth out. You'll have mortars, flamethrowers, cannons, machine guns, and chemical weapons with optional planes and tanks you can take control of, and with that level of destruction, they somehow managed to keep this in the teen-rated category, refraining from the gore and dismemberment you often find in these style of games. I didn't feel too bad plopping my 7-year-old down in front of this while I shirked my parental nurturing, and he was in adolescent heaven. We both loved how many options there were to protect your toy box, and a few little extras like running a man from your side of the base to the enemy side, all while avoiding bombs and enemy soldiers to gain some extra dough for upgrades to your weapons. This really was a time melter, and my son liked it enough that I bought it on the Switch for him also. Shh, don't tell him before Christmas. I'll give this one an 8.5 out of 10. Gamers and gentlemen, it's been a hell of a time bringing you 10 selections of PS4 entrees that I can only hope you've gleaned some nutrients from. Regarding the giveaways, all I ask is to be patient. I'm starting a new year of videos that dive into the world of PS5, so I have a lot on my plate to consider, but I promise to keep all of you updated on the suggestions you've given me, and for my new subscribers, the prize should be fulfilled swiftly. As always, I appreciate the constant support I get from all of you, and most of all the interactions I have making new contacts around the world regarding this awesome pastime. With that, I bring this year to a close and may add some new volumes for this system or future surprises at a later date, but 2025 is the year of PS5 on my channel, and I've set aside more shelving space for that very system. I'll close wishing all of you the best holiday season imaginable, and if you drink along with eating and being merry, don't forget to toast my channel. Cheers!